Today we're testing out the V2-T by Epoch batteries. It's a 12-volt 460 amp hour battery designed for marine environments, which means they are not cheap, but the features they have are pretty insane. Now in the first version of this battery, they had some of the best hardware I've seen in a battery, but the software was horrible. They actually had an over-the-air update that was bricking their batteries. Imagine being in the middle of the ocean and your battery shuts down and you can't use it. But they claim that in this new version, everything is fixed, including the bugs in the app. So today we're gonna test everything. First, let's talk about the basic features. This battery is heavy, it's 93 pounds, but the capacity for its size is actually pretty good. And this is a watt cycle 314 amp hour mini. And this battery has one of the best volumetric densities around, but compare it to the Epoch. It's just a little bit larger and it has 460 amp hours. Next, it can handle a continuous discharge of 230 amps, but it can do 500 amps for 30 seconds. And on the last version, that worked perfectly. Next, it's actually UL listed and certified, and it's IP rated, so it's waterproof. And it has Victron communication, so if you wanted to work with your Victron system, you can plug it in right here. Also, each battery has its own T-class fuse, and it's replaceable without having to take the whole battery apart. And this is an overpressure relief valve. We have a heat sink for the BMS, and then we have a main power switch to turn it on or off. Next, these holes are for mounting. They're stainless steel threaded inserts, so if you have an RV or a boat, this is where you attach it. And these batteries are beautiful. The cases are amazing. Compared to what I usually see, these are on a whole different level. Now the first test I did was capacity, and these are rated for 460 amp hours, but I pulled 477 to 481. And I did 3 cycles on each battery with 100 amps. And the data files for this test will be listed down below if you want to download it yourself. Now the capacity tests were at 100 amps, and then I stepped it up to its maximum rated output of 230 amps. And I had to do this manually with an electronic load in a large charger, and it also passed that test, and it passed the capacity at that rate. Now on camera, we're going to test the overcurrent protection. First test is 500 amps, 15, 16, 29, 30. Whoa, that was perfect. Exactly 30 seconds. Now the battery just reset. Now this test will be for 1000 amps. Holy cow, that was a lot of energy. So we've got a green light, but it won't turn on. Let's take the fuse out and see if I blew it. It's the fuse. This one's only rated for 400 amps. Oh, it's a fast acting fuse. Wow, that's why. And these are expensive, so that's not fun. But sure is better than a Battleborn battery where you have to throw the whole battery away because of their fail-safe. So much cheaper just to have a fuse in the battery. More companies should do this. This is nice. And it's reliable. Battleborn. If you're running a single battery or if you're in the middle of the ocean, you need to have spares on hand. Now we're gonna test for charging over current protection. 500 amps. So we'll come back tomorrow when it's nice and cold. Fast for the next day later, and I can't get it any colder. We're at -5 degrees Celsius or 23 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's at 1% state of charge. So let's try charging it with 100 amps. Here we go. And the test has now started. And it's charging, look at that. So it drew 100 amps for a few seconds and then it dropped down to 12 amps. And this is because it's using the internal heaters to warm up the cells. So we'll come back when these cells are nice and warm. 17 minutes later and both temperature sensors are showing 0 degrees Celsius. And we're still at 1% state of charge. So it finally started charging with 100 amps at 43 minutes. And we're at 5 and 6 degrees Celsius for the temperature sensors. So pretty conservative. They want to ensure the cells are actually warm. Now the freezer is still running, so let's see what our capacity is with these internal heaters. So cycling in the cold and we still pulled full capacity, 465 amp hours. Now we're going to test out the Victron communication. First off, here's the wiring harness. It's a little messy, but one of the plugs is black. And the blue port is labeled Victron. So we're going to plug this in. And this is waterproof, so make sure you slide it down and screw it on, especially for marine application. Now, if you have multiple batteries connected in parallel, you want to connect them together with this small black cable. This will allow the batteries to communicate with each other in the Victron system. And you need to connect them to the batteries in a daisy chain configuration. So if this is battery number 1 and the blue port is connected to your Victron system, this cable will plug into the black port. And then the other side will plug into the blue port on the second battery. And here's a diagram to show that connection. Next, you want to set the DIP switches. And this is done on top of the battery. And depending on how many batteries connected will determine how you're going to set these switches. So please read the manual for this part. Next, you want to find the plug that's labeled Victron. And we're going to plug this into the BMS CAN port on the Servo GX. And once it's connected, you'll see it on your device list, and the state of charge will match your state of charge indicator. And if you click on it, you can see the state of health, the battery temperature, and everything else. So if you have any alarms, you can check it out right here. Charge and discharge energy, that's pretty cool. And under parameters, you can set the voltage limit and the charge and discharge current. And under details, you can see the highest and the lowest cell voltage, and how many batteries are connected with communication, and the total capacity and what's available. So let's go to pages and test this thing out. So first we're going to charge with 120 volts. Now we're pushing 110 amps into the battery. Now we're going to add a heat gun. Now we're drawing 124 amps from the battery. And that's pretty much it. You just plug it in and it works. Another feature is it has a remote switch to turn the batteries on or off. And the cable is very long, so you can mount this in the living area far from your batteries. And if you hold it down, it will turn it off. And it just shut down, the inverter and everything. Let's try to turn it back on again. Perfect. Now time for the fun part. We're gonna rip this battery apart. This is not an easy case to open. And the build quality is very similar to the last version. And this heatsink on top is for the BMS, and look how big it is. It makes it so nice so it can get that heat away from the battery cells. Next, we have automotive grade waterproof plugs for literally all the communication connections. And this we found in the last version. It's a remote control fuse. So if the BMS gets into a really bad situation, it can remotely disconnect everything. Here's the cells, they're welded terminals. And the temp sensor is glued to the bus bar. I'd rather see a ring terminal myself. The heaters are on the sides of the cells, and it's a massive heater. Overpressure relief valves are not obstructed. We have 8 cells in series parallel. Now these bus bars are ridiculously large, but yeah, they have to handle 500 amps. But they still have a bin so it can accommodate for the expansion and contraction. Now the balance cables are protected with this plate, but it would be nice to see some more protection on them. Now this bracket where the BMS connects is the metal cell holder, and there's metal straps and bolts. And it has a rubber topping on these cells. I've actually never seen this before. And there's foam between the cells. And there's foam on top of the cells. So as usual, very good build quality. Now I know the company that builds these, and they make some of the best batteries you can buy. I've had one in my golf cart for over 5 years now, and not a single hiccup. I would say this is not a service-friendly battery though. This is not easy to take apart. But you can do it. They really crammed a lot in here with these cables. Geez, it is a tight fit. Now that the initial testing is done, what should we think about this battery? First off, version 1 had a lot of issues. For example, on the forum, people were having balancing issues. Also, when you use the communication with Victron, there was a problem with over voltage protection. And then when over-the-air update came out on version 2, that had issues as well. All the complaints are about the software. So when this one came out, they went over every single thing that was wrong before and how they fixed it. Now, the only problem I could find in the forums is SOC drift if you use it with low currents. So if you're drawing just a couple amps and you're using this with the Victron shunt, they're not going to be the same. And you need to charge up to 100% so that they can actually be accurate and follow each other. Also, if you want the best balancing possible, you need to charge it with the Victron system, because this BMS can control the charge rate, and at high SOC that helps with balancing a lot. Previously, the first version was only for monitoring with the Victron. This one, the BMS actually controls the charger and everything else. And when I got this battery, I did the over-the-air update, and it worked well. And I haven't seen anyone complain about it so far. And it was very noticeable in the app what they changed. Now it connects instantly before the screen even turns on, and functionally it's fantastic now. But when I see this graphic, I always think it's charging, but there's 0 amps going into the battery. Next, there's 2 temperature sensors, and I'm not sure which one's for the FETs and which one's for the cells. Also, I connected 2 batteries in the app, and it worked perfectly. Now this battery is working well. The latest firmware in this latest version is fantastic. But a lot of people are mad at this company because of what happened with the first version. But now that the battery actually works, I haven't seen many complaints. Now one thing I really like about this battery is even though it has Bluetooth and smart features, which I hate, you can disable all of them by disconnecting the state of charge meter. This has the Bluetooth antenna, so if you remove it, it's good to go. That is so much easier than having an antenna inside the case. So yeah, I like this. More manufacturers should do this. Next, the T-class fuse is expensive and you need to have spares. Next, the internal heaters worked well and it only took 8 amp hours to warm up this entire battery pack from frozen. But with any lithium iron phosphate battery, they can discharge to a lower temperature. So if you want to warm up a battery quickly, discharge it with a large load and you'll see the temperature rise quickly and then you can charge it. Because warming up this battery took almost an hour. But the heaters worked as advertised. They did not pull from the batteries, they pulled from the terminals, it warmed up and then it started charging. Next, this battery can output 500 amps, which means you should really be using 4-aught gauge cables only. So if you do want to attach smaller cables, be sure to use a terminal fuse right here that's rated properly for your conductor size. And you can take it a step further and change the BMS over current protection settings on the Victron app. And that's pretty much it for this battery. This battery I would keep. I like this battery. It is very expensive, but it's nice. And I can disable the smart features and use it as a normal battery. And I have a friend using this to start his truck. He has 2 of them. And that is not recommended, but he's been doing it for months now. Also, it doesn't come with these brackets, and I really wish it did. Now, for the next few months, I'm going to be checking the forums to see if anyone has software issues with these, especially with new over-the-air updates. Honestly, with how it's working with this firmware, I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to risk it. I don't like over-the-air updates. And that's pretty much it for this video. About a year later, and we have everything fixed. And if you have any problems with this battery, please let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.